One Crow here, and what we're looking at right now is the Mattel Intellivision. A nice little system. Well, not really that little. It is quite wide. But it is completely awesome, if only for the fact that it does have some wood grain trim over here. But in particular, what I'm going to talk about is the controller itself. It does have a numeric keypad, but that's not really that unique. In fact, well, it may be the first game system that did have this numeric keypad, but ColecoVision, the Atari 5200, even the Atari Jaguar had that. What is completely unique is this control disc. What controls your objects or your whatever your character's movements on screen. It doesn't necessarily have to be a character, but that is what lets you go left, right, up, down, and I think it can detect directions in 16 different directions, and it's very nice. However, if you grew up playing the Atari 2600 or any other system that used a joystick, this can be very difficult to get used to, especially if you're playing games like, oh, I don't know, Burger Time, and you just have a hard time just kind of estimating, because you're going up a ladder and then you want to get over. You kind of have to know that you have to swivel your hand this way. And if you played this on any other, system, you just have the joystick goes left or right. Well, what do you do about that? I mean, you can't. These are hardwired into the system. You can't get rid of these. However, there is a solution, and this was brought up to me by Intellivision dude. He suggested I get these Sticklers, and it says "Stick with the Sticklers," and what they are is just a little joystick that gets put on top of there, turning it into a joystick type apparatus. Now, before I continue any further, I want to say that this video was requested by jboypacman, and he wanted to see the Sticklers in action. However, the only problem with that is that I really can't, if I'm using the controller and showing you the screen, you're not really. It's kind of hard to show in action. So this will be just for demonstration purposes only. I will show the Sticklers, but I won't. I'll show you how they move on the controller, but I won't have any footage to really go along with it. Now, in order to get these Sticklers on the Intellivision, you can't just place it on top. You have to actually open up the controller and do that. And there's instructions on the side of the box to do that. It's not all that hard. There's only 4 screws that need to be taken off the controller. So let's do that right now. I've got my Black & Decker automatic screwdriver. Alright, so we got that apart. I think we could just pull this right off like that. This is the control disc. We just take that out, leave the spring there, put this in its place. Let's see, what's the best way to do that? Yeah. We put the controller right back on top of it. And screw these screws back in. And that's all it takes to install the Stickler. We got that on there, and now we have an Intellivision controller that's fit for an Atari 2600 user. It still kind of feels like the disc, but for me, it's a lot easier to tell which direction you're actually moving, up, down, because I'm grabbing this instead of just with my thumb. So, yeah, and it works quite well. I've played a little bit with like Beauty and the Beast and Burger Time, and I had a much easier time playing the games with this. You can easily swivel it around. Now, Intellivision dude, when he was showing these, was saying that in his Burger Time video it was sticking a little bit, but I haven't had that problem. So your results may vary on this. And so we got one Stickler on there. Let's get this Intellivision set up for multiple Atari 2600 users. And there we have it. An Intellivision that's meant for two Atari 2600 users, so they can feel more at home. It's a shame that the fire buttons aren't on the top here, because then you could actually go. You could actually hold this like a kind of a controller and use it kind of like an arcade stick. That would be kind of cool. But unfortunately, no. And I still do have a problem with the Intellivision. The fire buttons on the side here, but as far as I know, there's no solution for that. I know that if I play a game like Bomb Squad, my fingers really get sore from hitting the buttons, especially if it's one of those really, really long games. But yeah, and I know what you're saying. Well, that's all well and good for Intellivision users, but I have a ColecoVision. You know, how does that help me? Well, here's our ColecoVision, and a minor complaint that I've heard several times about the ColecoVision controllers themselves is that it's an okay controller, maybe even better than the Intellivision in terms of how easy the side buttons are to push, and the well, the numerical keypad is basically the same. But the joystick up here can be a little bit tough. You know, it's got a lot of, it requires a lot of force to push it in one direction. More force than what should be necessary. Well, guess what? There's Co-Sticklers for the ColecoVision. And these came in a pack of 2. And these kind of go on differently than the ones did for the Intellivision. For one, you don't have to take the controller apart. You don't have to replace anything on it. We'll take one out of the package here. And what these do is they just simply... Well, I shouldn't say simply, but they go on over the... Oops, I just dropped it. They go on over the controller knob here. And actually, I've had a lot since I've... yeah, so it's a little bit easier now. And now what you got is a joystick on top of the ColecoVision controller. And how does this help? Well, since there's more leverage over here, the controller is a lot easier to move. You don't have to. It doesn't require as much effort to move that the controller than it used to before. The joystick part of it, anyway, because you have more leverage at the top here. It doesn't require as much force, and it's much easier to get it to go the way you want. It does take a little bit of getting used to. It's still different than actually holding and actually turning using a Atari 2600 controller, but it is a lot easier than actually using the nub down here. So we put, once we have that in there, let's set this up for 2 people. And there we have it, a ColecoVision that is ready for Atari 2600 players. Why not? Or anybody that likes to use a joystick rather than a nub. But there's an extra added advantage to these sticklers when you have them on the ColecoVision. If you happen to have the roller controller for the ColecoVision, you can use these a lot like arcade joysticks. Can you imagine this, Robotron 2084? If only it was on the ColecoVision, this would be awesome. But yeah, just like this could work out pretty well if you were playing like Donkey Kong or something on the ColecoVision. But yeah, that's the sticklers, and I want to thank jboypacman for requesting this video and giving me a chance to show those off. I know I happen to like these sticklers. Now, I know for the Intellivision version, if you were to ask somebody like Intellivision dude, he would say that he prefers the disc as opposed to the sticklers. But seeing as how I grew up with the Atari 2600, I think I gotta go with the stickler over the disc, just because I'm just so used to the joystick. And with that, I'll let it be at that. And thanks for watching, and I'll see you all next time. Bye.
You all know what I stand for.
Biography.